This presentation gets at the heart of what Tamarisk is all about, presence. What our founder Gretchen Hansen says is the key to good hospice care delivery. We will spend a good amount of time discussing this during our training event, so my focus here will be to highlight some essentials, share a few concrete examples from our volunteers and families we've served about what presence means to them, and finally to talk about self-care, highlighting a few techniques that you might find helpful to equip you to handle the load of caring for Tamarisk families, as well as any other responsibilities or burdens that you may have in life. Oh, and just a fun note here as we begin, as so many in this part of the world are unfamiliar with tamarisk trees, well, this photo here is of a tamarisk tree in fall bloom. They're native to the Middle East, and it was likely this type of tree that Abraham offered shade and comfort, presence, to the weary travelers through the desert. So with this image in mind, let's begin. Now, as part of your volunteer training, please be sure to read the booklet that you should find in the front of your training binder entitled Presence, the Key to Hospice Care Delivery. Now, no need to stop the presentation right now to read it, but I'd like to highlight a few key concepts here that we will be sure to build on during our training event. The other photo you see here is of Gretchen's book that you will receive during the training event, Lois's Footprints, in which Gretchen shares her story of caring for a young mom as she's journeying through cancer treatments and the dying process. It is highly recommended reading as her story captures the essence of what it means to be present to the families we serve and gives some good practical examples of what volunteering might be like. So back to the booklet on presence. I'd like to share here just a few key thoughts from Gretchen Hansen's monograph. We'll discuss more aspects of this book during the training event, so please make a point to open your binder during this presentation and pause it for a moment if you need to go get that, and to do the same as you read the booklet. You will find a page for notes in your training booklet under the tab marked Presence. So please note questions or thoughts that you want to share with the group as you go along. So first of all, from the section titled The Hospice Philosophy on pages 9 through 12. Tamarisk volunteers affirm life, and we encourage a view of people in their totality, seeing their medical needs, of course, but also their emotional, spiritual, and social needs. We recognize that when pain and symptoms are controlled, the patient is able to relax and focus on the emotional or spiritual support and comfort that are needed, and it frees them to give attention to relationships with loved ones and closure that will be so important when confronting the end of life. Now, of course, as Tamarisk volunteers, you will not be directly involved in or responsible for the patient's medical needs. You can play a role in seeing that these needs are met, and at that point, then, be free to offer the personal care of presence that oftentimes you are uniquely positioned to provide. From the section titled Presence, the Key to Hospice Care Delivery on page 11, I find a great definition that I'd suggest that you underline or highlight in your booklet. So if you want to take a moment to find that page and grab a highlighter, please do. Well, the bottom paragraph on that page begins. The concept of presence is of being totally and spiritually with another human being. It is the spirituality of the companion who walks alongside, or a friend being watchful, available, and often empty-handed. Well, the key to offering presence is coming to a place in yourself where you arrive at the visit with your companion empty-handed, as it says here. When you come to the visit with no expectations for what you'll do, what you expect to happen, or perhaps what you hope to gain from the experience, that's when you are truly free to focus on and sense the needs of the individual, and perhaps the needs of their caregiver too. So I'd encourage you as you read the booklet to take some time to think about what it might mean for you to be there for a companion that you are matched with to visit. Offering presence can be the very practical things you do for them. It might be the activities you plan for your time together. It might be in the way that you speak to them and affirm them for who they are as a person of value regardless of their present condition. Offering presence can be that listening ear that sometimes offers suggestions and at other times says nothing at all. From the section titled Developing the Practice of Presence on pages 16 through 18, Gretchen writes, To be effective, the hospice caregivers must clear the ground to be compassionate, must release the chaos within themselves, and must take away the barriers which prevent them from entering into communion with others. Caregivers need inner stability to be compassionate. They need a source that gives balance to reach out to persons in chaos. If caregivers are preoccupied with their own agendas, they will not be present to listen to their patients and to learn from them. Now, this is a critical topic for Tamarisk volunteers and one that all of us work on developing for a lifetime. There is no one method or magic button that offers inner stability. Each of us needs to find what works, what helps us find a place of balance in life that frees us to be able to focus on and reach out to others. Well, we will talk about this at the training event, and this topic is one that we will come back to for ongoing training for Tamarisk volunteers. For the moment, my hope is that you become aware of the connection between your own self-care and your ability to be present to others. Of course, working on this will not only equip you to better serve Tamarisk families, it's an essential life skill that I hope you can see would benefit all of your roles and relationships in life. And finally, from the section titled Compassion, the Cornerstone of Presence, on pages 21 through 24. Now, I won't read Gretchen's quote on the slide for you here, but do my best to summarize some of what she shares in this section of her monograph. Compassion is the cornerstone of presence means to be willing to go beyond what we are comfortable with in order to ease their pain and bring them comfort. To be empathetic, sensitive to, and doing our best to understand their pain and their plight. Compassion as the cornerstone of presence means to search for ways to comfort, to meet needs, physical, practical, emotional, spiritual. To look for the real need that might be beyond a presented or surface level need. I will share one quote from page 22 that might be a helpful beginning point for you to grasp the journey of the dying. Gretchen states, she says, "For the living the way is hard, but possible. For the dying, there is no way out, only a way forward. They know that we, as caregivers, are not God. They accept that we cannot halt the process of their disease, the inexorable march of that terrible army that takes over a human body like an occupying force, pillaging, raping, and desecrating without respect. They want us to be honest with them, warm and humble. They want us to combine competence with compassion. They want us to stand our ground when our hands are empty and to share the frightening darkness with them. I believe that more than anything, the dying need to know that they are loved. They need to know that we won't desert them. They need to know that we stand at the foot of the cross at this stage of their journey. They need to know we will simply be there for them." So now it's time for me to sit back, and I hope that you enjoy hearing from the personal experiences of some of our volunteers and families that Tamarisk has served in recent years. Now, the wisdom here is from veteran Tamarisk volunteer Carmen Coleman, who at the time of this presentation has worked with Tamarisk families for 18 years. So I truly hope you get the chance to meet her at one of our training events and to hear from her wealth of knowledge and experience. Take a few moments to read her insights posted here, and then enjoy a short audio clip.
One of the earliest companions I had was a beautiful young woman with stage 4 breast cancer. Her name was Stephanie. The illness was devastating. Her personal life was a nightmare. She had divorced an abusive husband and struggled with 3 adult children with multiple severe problems. During the 3 years I spent with her, we developed a very close relationship. Her mother came from New York when she could leave her ill husband. She was able to be at her daughter's bedside for the last weeks of her life. When the end came, Stephanie's mother was alone and devastated. My challenge was to help her. She stayed at my house for a few days. I did not want her to be alone. Together, we made all the funeral arrangements. She was so overwhelmed that with her approval, I ended making many of the final decisions. I was so honored by her trust. When we volunteer with Tamarisk, we build relationships with the whole family, and often these relationships go on for a long time. I was in touch with Stephanie's mother until she died a few years ago.
Now, for the past few months, as I've prepared for this presentation, I've asked our volunteers to share from their own experiences about what presence means to them. So I'll pause for a moment again to let you read these thoughts from Anita, Bev, Steve, and a couple other of our volunteers. Well, I hope you've enjoyed hearing from some of our volunteers. Let's take a moment now to hear from some of our family caregivers. Now, I wish I could have recorded these thoughts, but what I have here are some quotes from notes that have been sent to Tamarisk over the past few years that, of course, express their gratitude for what you as volunteers do. But I hope these also give you a sense for what presence means to each of these families. From Barb in July of 2010. To everyone at Tamarisk, there is no way to express how grateful I am for the services of Tamarisk, and especially Tom. He has always been kind and patient with my husband, even as his condition has deteriorated. Tom's faithfulness in coming every week has given me the freedom to buy groceries, schedule medical appointments for myself, and even have an occasional lunch with friends. From Bev, a wife and caregiver. It was such a load off my mind while I was gone to know that my husband was in good hands. I felt very comfortable leaving my sick husband with a Tamarisk volunteer. The time away from caregiving was much needed. From Mary, a daughter and caregiver. Thank you for sending us Ida. She is an angel. My mom loved her, and she is truly a friend to all of us. She was an answer to my prayers. From Vicky. Dear Tamarisk, just want to say how much Michael enjoys Don playing cribbage when I'm getting my hair set. Thank you. P.S. Don is a very special person. From Diane, a note from the spring of 2012. I thought Jim was an excellent companion for Dad. I felt he was very conscientious of his needs. I was especially impressed when Dad, out of his own stubbornness, had gotten out of the vehicle at a destination they arrived at. Before Jim was able to get around to the passenger side, Dad's side, and Dad had fallen as a result of his haste to get out. Well, Jim was very upset and concerned, understandably, and didn't waste any time in contacting me to report it rather than disregard and downplay. He was forthright and honest. I actually feel bad for Jim, as I could totally relate to his concern and frustration of the event. I had been there, done that. Jim has a real heart for the elderly. Thank you for that interim of services. It helped me tremendously. From Bud's family in the November of 2013. They write, We, the family of Harland, Bud Barry, are giving donations received in his passing to Tamarisk. We believe in Tamarisk's mission. Carmen Coleman was the volunteer who came weekly to help Bud provide care for his wife's struggles with dementia. Bud often stayed and visited with Carmen, as he strived for more adult conversation than to go out and do errands or household tasks. From Rita, mother and caregiver to 2 sons with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. She writes, Little did I know back in 2011 when I first called Tamarisk and asked if they ever worked with teenagers, did I imagine I would be getting more than a dedicated volunteer. Through them, we have also gained a wonderful new addition to our family. Grandma Bev, as my boys call her, aka Beverly Anderson. Beverly spends 90 minutes every Tuesday working on things like jigsaw puzzles and arts and crafts with my boys. They look forward to her stories and spending time with her, especially as the weather turns colder and makes it harder for them to get out into the community. Having Beverly come visit with my sons once a week has not only enriched their lives, but has also given my sister and I a little time off to go take a walk together, run to the store, or even just get a short nap in. On the days that find Marie and I short on sleep and patience, we've also turned to Bev ourselves for emotional support. I can't thank Tamarisk enough for bringing Beverly into our lives. We look forward to her love and laughter every Tuesday afternoon. And finally, a note from George, a current patient with Parkinson's and multiple other health struggles. He says, "Raul is the best friend there ever was. I look forward to his visits every Monday. He comes consistently every week. Sometimes we go out, maybe for lunch or errands or a medical appointment. Sometimes we visit at home. I appreciate all that Tamarisk does, and I am glad that Raul has become a good friend." So as we come to the end of the presentation, I hope you have a sense for how important it is for you to take care of yourself so that you're able to offer the life-giving gift of presence to every patient and family you serve as a Tamarisk caregiver. In the back of your training binder, you'll find a tab marked Self-Care. We will touch briefly on this during the training event, and recognizing that this is a skill and habit that's very individual, won't spend a great deal of time on. The photos that you see here will highlight some common, time-tested ways that people have used to relax, to refuel, to relieve stress, and to recharge. Perhaps for you, you might enjoy a relaxing massage, going biking or running for exercise, being creative, a talk with your friends, journaling your thoughts, or maybe a long hike or walk in nature. I'd encourage you right now to take some time to look over these ideas in your binder so we can talk about what works for you or what you might want to try at the training event. So a final question for reflection in light of these ideas for self-care is, are you at risk for burnout? Well, perhaps there are days or circumstances where you have felt like one of the people here. And there is also a good chance that the caregivers you assist are at risk of emotional burnout as well. So once again, please take some time to consider and apply some of these methods to help you be ready to offer a caring presence that will truly make a difficult journey easier for those who are confronting the end of their journey. You just might get the chance to share one of these methods of coping with one of your families about what has worked for you to relieve stress and recharge as a way to offer presence to that caregiver. So my challenge for you as we finish is to choose one thing that you can do in the next 24 hours just for you.